Today I'm going to be sharing my top 5 favourite Barbie movie quotes. Now these are the quotes that appear at the end of the credits in just about every Barbie movie, and sometimes they're also said throughout the movie as well, and basically they are just the moral of the story and the message that that movie is trying to put out. And yeah, we really love the Barbie movie quotes. We think that they are one of the best parts of the Barbie movies, and we think about them a lot, and we actually really try to apply them to our lives, and they definitely are very inspiring to us. So yes. Now Barbie does have 30 plus movies, and a lot of them have amazing quotes, so it was hard to narrow it down to a list of just 5, and even harder still to put those 5 in an order. I don't know if my particular order is set in stone or not. It's very hard to choose which one I like more than the others. But this is definitely my top 5, so yeah, let's get into them. Always leave things better than you found them, from Barbie as the Pearl Princess. Katie and I were discussing this recently, and so she'll probably put it in her video as well. But we realised that this quote is something that we have always tried to live by, long before this movie came out. I realised that this quote pretty much sums up, in both big and small ways, the way that I've always wanted to live my life, whether I've thought about it consciously or not. Of course, the quote does happen to come into my head nowadays, especially when I'm cleaning, obviously. Whether that's my own space or someone else's space, say if I'm staying in someone's home or even in a hotel and I just happen to clean it or organize it, or even though it's not something I've been asked to do, but it's just something I feel naturally inclined to do. Even out in public and things, for example, if I happen to be eating out and there's someone that has left rubbish on the table next to mine, I will normally take it to the bin with mine, even though that's not my job, but I find it really hard just to leave it there, you know. Another example is I really like to take secondhand dolls. Sometimes they're given to me, sometimes I buy them, but just any unwanted dolls that have been discarded and kind of messed up, I like to just take them and give them this spa day and fix their hair and their skin and give them new clothes, and basically just a new lease on life. And that is partly because I love dolls, but I really like to do it with other things as well, like furniture, for example. I'm pretty big into upcycling. Half the shelves in this room are upcycled, including my Barbie one. I just really like to take things that are damaged in some way or just discarded and fix them up and give them a new use again. I just think that if I can see something that's in a condition that I can improve on, I really want to take that opportunity. And this then does extend to bigger things like people, and no, I'm not about fixing people, but this quote I find really reflects this huge desire that I have in me just to help people. When I think about what I want to do with my life, I always just think I just really want to help people. And that doesn't necessarily mean like changing someone's situation or making everything better for them. And I mean, if I could, I would, and if I can help someone in any practical way, I would like to. But I find that most people really need encouragement. I mean, I know I do, and I find that that's obviously something that I can give. And I find that I really, really want to more than anything. If I can just make someone feel even the tiniest bit better about themselves, about a situation, about life, then I've succeeded in some way. I especially want this with the people that I love and that are closest to me, but also just to anyone that I come into contact with, whether it's through a conversation or even just watching a video like this. If I can encourage someone, even in the smallest way, you know, even as simple as something as not feeling so alone, it makes me feel really good, and it just fills my life with purpose and meaning. So yeah, that's why I really like this quote, because to me it just reflects what I think it really means to really live. There may be miracles awaiting, they may be closer than we know, when we have love to guide us as we go. From Barbie as the Island Princess. This one has probably always been in my top 5, I would say. As we know, it's also some of the lyrics from the final song in the movie, When We Have Love, which is definitely my favourite song in the film. I've always really liked this one because I have always been someone that believes in miracles and believes in love. I believe that love in of itself is a miracle, the greatest miracle that we will ever experience in this life, as well as being the thing that brings about the most miracles. However, even though I do believe in these things, I also know what it's like to go without them and to be left waiting on them. I have found that even miracles take a little time. As Cinderella's fairy godmother would put it, yes, I have to bring Cinderella into everything. Sometimes when you are waiting on a miracle, it can feel like forever. Sometimes you begin to wonder if it's ever going to happen. That's why I really like this quote, because it always helps me whenever I feel discouraged to remember that miracles do happen. They happen every day, and you never know when the one you're waiting on is going to happen. So you should never give up, because for all you know, it could be right around the next corner. For me, the very thought of giving up right before my miracle is about to happen, it just makes me really sad, and it kind of steers me away from any temptation I may have to give up. This quote also reminds me to think of the little miracles that already exist in our lives that we often overlook. It also reminds me that whenever love is involved, miracles will happen, no matter how long it takes. It is the guiding force that leads to the most wondrous things. You just have to have the patience to see. True courage is pursuing your dream even when everyone else says it's impossible. From Barbie and the Three Musketeers. Another one that has been always on my top 5 list. The Three Musketeers is one of the most inspiring Barbie movies in general, and this quote has been a resounding thing in my life, and something that I've often turned to. It's very true. I think it's one thing to dream and another thing to actually pursue those dreams, and doing so can actually be very scary, even in the best of circumstances and times, but it's definitely much harder to do so when you don't have anyone who believes in you or in that dream. Growing up, I had a lot of you can't and you won't and don't be so silly spoken over me. To this day, that has still been the case, and you know, I've had people laugh in my face. I also get a lot of the it won't be easy kind of people who proceed to tell me the reality of a certain dream I have, and you know, how hard that will be to achieve, basically. Side note, don't be one of those people telling someone what they already know. It doesn't help. And these things have a way of, you know, throwing buckets of water onto the spark of that dream inside of you and tearing away at your confidence and making something that is already so scary a million times more terrifying. Barbie has certainly been the difference maker in my life, coming in with quotes like this. A world full of voices that scream, you can't, you can't, you can't. Barbie comes in as this voice of hope and encouragement, saying you can. And it may take a lot of courage, but you have the courage that it takes. I have often turned to this quote and to Barbie's example in this movie when I'm feeling discouraged, and it really just helps me. It helps keep my dreams alive, and it's helped me find the courage to go after them despite any unhelpful opinions that others have on the matter. There is always hope, from Barbie and the Magic of Pegasus. Another simple statement, but a very powerful one. Hope is the most vital thing in this life. No one can live without it. If you've ever felt truly hopeless, then you know it's not a good place to be. I have certainly found myself in places like that where I truly felt like all hope was gone. And yet, even there, I found that it wasn't. This movie talks about hope being an eternal flame, and that is certainly what it is. Even if it burns down to the smallest embers, I have found, at least for me, that hope is an eternal thing, and it is frail, but not easy to destroy. And I'm sure that that is rooted in the things that I believe in, but I have had times where it felt like all hope was lost. But then somehow I would find the tiniest glimmer of it to hold on to. Hope is one of the strongest forces. Even the smallest bit of it can carry you a really long way on its wings, just like the song in the movie says. And I know what it's like to have your hope shattered, but I also know what it's like to find tiny pieces of it all over again, and often in the most unexpected places when you thought all was lost. And I talked about this in our favourite Barbie characters video about why I like Princess Annika so much, and just the movie in general, The Magic of Pegasus, because I've always been someone like her that really likes to hold on to hope, no matter how small it may be. I find it really hard to give up, even in situations where people have assumed that I would, or have wanted me to, or have, advised me to. But in my experience, I have found that no matter how sad and frustrated I can get, giving up hope has always remained the hardest thing for me to do. This quote may be simple, but I often turn to it as a reminder to always keep the hope I have in my heart, because it's always there. Sometimes in the dark you just have to look a little harder to find it, but it will always be there, blazing eternally on for those who look for it and those who choose it. I am really thankful for this sweet reminder from Barbie that hope doesn't have to be lost. It will live if you choose it, and it will carry you. You're braver than you think, from Barbie of Swan Lake. I chose this one as my favourite, one because Swan Lake is my favourite Barbie movie, and two because this one really does speak to me on such a deeper level. Admittedly, my whole life I have always been a very fearful person. Like Odette, I've never really considered myself very much to be brave or to even have the ability to be so. But also, like Odette, I have discovered that this quote is very true. Whenever I am about to do something that really scares me, I remember her and I repeat over and over again in my head, "You're braver than you think, you're braver than you think, you're braver than you think." And then I do it. I might do it with a heart that is racing a million miles an hour and hands that are shaking, but I do it. And afterwards, I always feel so amazed, like, maybe it really is true. And then I always repeat to myself what Odette says at the end of the movie. "A wise friend once told me, you're braver than you think. Turns out she was right." In my case, Barbie is that wise friend, and in my discovery, Barbie is right. Barbie is always right. I really love this quote because it reminds me that even though there is a lot of fear in my heart, a lot of courage also resides there as well. I think I also mentioned this in our favourite Barbie characters video, but I'll say it again. Courage is something that you seldom feel at the start of anything, but it's something that you discover along the way. You find it when you take the steps that you're afraid to take, and when you do, you find that it was there all along. It's just often hard for us to see in the shadows of all of our fears. But in my experience, I have discovered that I do indeed possess the ability to be brave, much braver than my mind would have me believe that I am. And this quote is always something that comes to me to remind me of that and to help me face my fears, and it's never been proven wrong. So that is my top 5 favourite Barbie movie quotes and all of my deep reasons why. Thank you so much for watching. Please feel free to leave a comment with your favourite Barbie movie quote, and do keep an eye out for Katie's video, which will probably be up shortly after this one. And yeah, hopefully I will see you in one of our next ones. Peace!